Good morning. Happy Monday. Welcome to From the Nosebleeds. Make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. I'm Joey Gunnar here today with AP, feeling good on this Monday morning. Victory Monday. Huge win for the Broncos, beating the Packers 34-26. They were home underdogs despite the fact that the Packers have only won one game in Denver in history, and they went out there, the Broncos did, and sent a statement out. They sent a statement out to the league, letting every single person who watches the NFL or even knows Bo Nix's name, they are real. They are a real team who has Super Bowl aspirations and can make that run, especially with the juice that they got after a win like that.
Home underdogs was crazy from the odds makers in Vegas. So look, I understand Christian Watson and Micah Parsons both get hurt. Jordan Love came out with his hair on fire, was playing great. The Broncos defense was not so great to start the game, but this Denver Broncos team is resilient. They've lived, they've thrived in the pressure cooker throughout the course of this season. Bo Nix, I thought, had the best game of his career, 4 different touchdown passes to 4 different receivers, and the Denver Broncos make a statement and make Vegas look silly in the process with their come-from-behind win over the Green Bay Packers. Let the good times roll. The Broncos are cooking right now, Joey.
Yeah, another game where they've got to make a comeback run. Patrick Surtain starts that run. They're down 9, gets his first interception of the season, and it's a crazy one. It's a really big one on a deep ball that if that's caught by Christian Watson, it changes the game again. You know, you're already down by 2 scores. And he came up in the clutch when it matters most. And that's kind of what happened in that game yesterday. The defense came up in the clutch multiple times. They stood strong and they played the way that they have all season. That mixed with the fact that the Broncos offense looked consistent as ever, led to this win. Those two things, the Broncos defense coming up clutch, and in big moments, they stopped the Packers, and the Broncos offense was just moving, and it was led by Bo Nix, who you said had the best game of his career, and I agree with that. You look at these stats right here, 23 of 34, 302 pass yards, 4 passing touchdowns, no interceptions. Do you want to know something? You know how Drake May is being an MVP candidate, right? Like, he's up there in the talks, and Bo Nix isn't. You know, you'd think that maybe Bo Nix should be getting a look. Drake May has never in his career, and especially not this season, thrown for 300 yards, 4 passing touchdowns, and beaten a team that had a positive record by more than 3. Bo Nix did all of those things in one game. He hasn't done one of those things all season. And that just, you know, that's what separates the winners from the team that loses to the Bills yesterday and lets the Broncos get that first spot in the AFC.
Yeah, look, and it's been a good season for New England. I'm not trying to take anything away from them necessarily, going from worst to first now in the division. We'll see where they end up as the season ends and comes to its conclusion. But they blew a 21-point lead at home yesterday to the Buffalo Bills. And look, I understand Josh Allen is incredible, but the New England Patriots have played absolutely nobody on their schedule. And again, I'm not trying to take away from them, but I think they were inflated because of this win streak that they were on. Like, the Broncos win streak and the Patriots win streak are not created equal. I understand the Broncos had the benefit of, not playing CJ Stroud, the Jets in London, some other games, but, the Broncos have really taken care of business over this 11-game win streak. And with the Patriots' loss yesterday, the Broncos are now a game up for the number 1 seed in the AFC with obviously 3 games remaining. Jacksonville, Kansas City with no Mahomes, and finishing up the season against a banged-up Chargers team as well. So I don't want to necessarily tear down the New England Patriots, but this is what we were waiting for. The bottom has kind of finally fallen out for New England. They got a tough matchup next week against the Baltimore Ravens. And I mean, Bo Nix, to bring it back to the Packers game, was in complete control and in total command of that offense yesterday. I mean, him zipping it around the field. And I also thought, yes, the Pat Surtain interception was an incredible momentum-changing play in this game, but I believe it was the subsequent drive for Bo Nix, where you see him kind of juke out Micah Parsons, using his legs, using his arm, impromptu throws, and then delivers a beautiful fade route to Cortland Sutton in the corner of the end zone. And that really felt like that's when the Broncos offense kicked things into gear. And from that moment on in the game, the Broncos were able to clean up and take care of business. What we saw yesterday from the Denver Broncos against the Green Bay Packers is what I have been waiting to see from this team. They have solidified themselves in my opinion, as one of, if not the best team, not just in the AFC, but in the NFL. That home crowd advantage is absolutely real. I'm sitting in the press box yesterday. Things are shaking. I mean, Philip Lindsay, our guy, planting the flag before the game. It was an absolute scene out there at Empower Field at Mile High. And if the Denver Broncos take care of business in this home stretch of the season and get that 1 seed and home field runs through Denver, they are going to be a tough team to beat in the playoffs. Broncos country, you've got to love where the Broncos are right now.
That's crazy. Like it's right now, it's in motion. You know, the Broncos getting that number 1 seed and having that home field advantage throughout the playoffs. If that happens to be the case, I mean, start buying your Super Bowl tickets now, because I don't know who's beating them. You know, they've gone out there and they've performed at the highest level against these teams that are towards the top of the league. Like you can't discredit this game. People may try, and those people are wrong. This is a good viewpoint into what the Broncos are not only going to look like for the rest of this season, not only going to look like in the playoffs, but for the next couple of years with Bo Nix at the helm. This is what we should be used to. So if we're not seeing the same kind of stuff next season, you know, we can have some conversations. But right now, get used to this because the Broncos are real. But what I want to ask you, AP, is you mentioned last week that this game will be one that tells you everything that you needed to know about the Broncos. Do you think that people around the league are finally realizing that, hey, the Broncos are real serious right now?
I was listening to sports talk radio nationally on my drive into the station this morning, and people were talking about the Chiefs, obviously, because the Mahomes injury is devastating, and that's the end of that dynasty. We'll see if they can rebuild. But people still think the Buffalo Bills, at least from what I've heard, you know, over the first hour, they're like, Buffalo's the team to beat in the AFC. The Broncos will never get the respect they deserve. And I'm not sure why that is. I don't know if it's because people are still skeptical about Bo Nix. I'm not sure if it's because they don't have like a, you know, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, you know, type of wide receiver, despite having a really good committee of wide receivers. I don't really understand why the Broncos are still treated like this flyover team. I understand their defense was a bit shaky to start the game yesterday, but the one thing you cannot deny about this Broncos team is they always find a way when their backs are against the wall, when the lights are the brightest, to win these games. And, you know, this defense really picked it up in the second half. Bo Nix was, you know, slicing and dicing a very good Green Bay Packers defense yesterday as well. And so I don't know what it is. And honestly, I do think the Broncos kind of like flying below the radar. I mean, we asked questions in the locker room last week about the underdog notion, this and that. You saw Garrett Bowles after the game kind of start his post-game press conference with that. I think this Denver Broncos team likes being the quote-unquote sleeper. They'll be better off for it. They're the only team left in the NFL that have not lost a game at home this season. I mean, think about that. They're on a, you know, what is this now? An 11-game win streak for this Denver Broncos team.
Yeah.
They show no signs of slowing down. Bo Nix has kicked it into gear. The defense has been stepping it up late in games. And like I said, when their backs are against the wall, this Denver Broncos team is nails. They figure out a way to win this game. So in my opinion, call me a homer. Sam, you know, got my orange and blue glasses on. I'm drinking the orange and blue Kool-Aid. This is the best team in the AFC, Joey.
Yeah. Well, the record says so. They're
the only team that has 12 wins right now.
Yeah.
The Rams, who I think, to be fair, I think the Rams are the favorite to win the Super Bowl. I like what the Rams have on offense. I think McVay's a great coach. I know they got some questions about their defense, but they only have 11 wins. Yeah. You know, it's not necessarily apples to apples, but again, at home, who's beating this Broncos team? You tell me in the comments.
I'd love to see that matchup. Like, I'd love to see a Rams-Broncos matchup because I think the Broncos have an edge in a lot of ways there.
Yeah.
Especially, like, it sucks, but I believe, and I could be wrong because I didn't see the update after this, but didn't Devontae Adams go down yesterday
and
too?
Puka Nacua,
and Puka returned.
Okay, he did.
Puka returned. I saw that Puka returned, but that was a whole crazy separate part of yesterday through the injuries that happened all around the league.
Yeah,
it was crazy. But
can I play devil's advocate real quick?
Please.
If Micah Parsons and Christian Watson don't get hurt, you still think the Broncos win?
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
They were making that they were creating their path anyways. I mean, Micah Parsons was putting pressure on Bo Nix, but was he actually, you know, really changing the game for the Broncos?
Bo Nix was not sacked yesterday.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
right?
So did he really actually change the game that much? And Micah Parsons is one of the best edge rushers I've ever seen. You know, he's up there. He's probably a Hall of Fame player when it all said, and he's not even near his peak yet. But he wasn't changing the game for the Broncos. Their game plan was going to work no matter what. Christian Watson, like, okay.
Yeah. Well, you know what else I love from that game yesterday and the game plan from Sean Payton? He talked about this in his post-game press conference. At some point in the second half yesterday, when the defense was on the field for the Broncos, Sean pulled the entire offense aside and said, look across the sideline. This team is gassed. And the Denver Broncos went up tempo and really kept the Packers defense on their heels. And you saw by the end of that game, man, despite the Packers holding up in the first half or doing a decent job on defense, the Broncos knew that they were running on fumes, and they used that to their advantage. I mean, the altitude, right? We talk about that time and time again. Feels like a broken record because we talk about it so much here in the Mile High City, but that is a real factor. You pair the altitude with this high-octane offense when they kick it into gear and one of, if not the best home field advantage, that is the recipe for success for this Broncos team. And again, the Packers are an excellent, excellent team, and the Broncos took care of business yesterday.
Yeah. And just to talk about them being gassed and like the way the Broncos really stepped up and changed the game in the second half, coming out of halftime, we're just going to read the play or the drive results here on, ESPN. We're going to read them. Touchdown right out of the half. That was a quick touchdown. And I honestly was like, oh, shoot. Okay. This might be an issue. The Broncos immediately punt. Interception caused by the Broncos. So picked off Green Bay, forced Green Bay to punt, held them to a field goal, interception, downs. So they had 2 scoring drives. One was a touchdown right at the half, a 1-minute touchdown. I believe that was the huge run, correct? The 40-yard run by Josh Jacobs. After that, they were basically held quiet. The defense was doing their job too and forcing that offense to really have to play harder and longer to get something to go forward.
Yeah, look, and Jordan Love's a baller, man. Like, I was one of those guys that was a bit of a Jordan Love. He balled yesterday, dude. I understand he fell up. Dude, his ball placement, like, did you see that Josh Jacobs touchdown grab? The ball was perfect. Yeah. Jordan Love made some unbelievable throws yesterday. Jordan Love showed me a lot. Like I said, I was kind of on the fence with him. Dude could play. Dude could ball. I know it's Toyota-thon. He didn't win the game yesterday, but that's beyond the point. But at the end of the day, man, what stands out most to me about this Broncos defense is that final drive at the game. Because, it was a one-possession game. If I had to critique the Broncos yesterday, I don't know what Sean Payton was doing going for it on 2 consecutive fourth downs in a one-possession game. Punt the ball, kick the field goal, whatever you got to do. That game ended up being a little bit sweatier than it needed to be. But on that final drive of the game, the Denver Broncos pass rush got home. Pressure, sacks, Nick Bonito, Jonathan Allen, John Franklin Myers. I mean, all of these guys got the job done when they needed to. And that's the signature of this Denver Broncos defense. They play bend, don't break, right? They gave up some field goals. Yes, the Josh Jacobs touchdowns, and Jordan Love was good in the first half. But coming out of halftime, this Denver Broncos defense flipped a switch.
Yeah. And, they held them to 10 points in the second half, where in the first half they had 16, whilst the Broncos didn't score in the first quarter. But after that, 14, 13, 7, just complete and utter dominance all the way throughout the game. I'm really haven't, I've been able to find things throughout different games that the Broncos have played where I'm just like, that didn't look good. That wasn't good. That's something that they'll need to fix. I can't seem to find something this game.
I think the first half with the defense, they gave up a lot of dink and dunk chunk plays.
Yeah.
But again, they were able to it wasn't like, Green Bay went up 21-0 in this game.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of game left, right? Like I was talking to some buddies in the press box. I said, what is wrong with this defense? What is going on? Tranquilo. Chill out. Like, they're going to be fine, right? And they've proven it. That's the thing, is at this point in the season, like, you can't be 12-2 and call the Broncos frauds. Oh. And despite the fact that maybe it looks a little rough around the edges at some parts, right? We saw that against Washington. We saw that obviously in the first half against Green Bay, some other games throughout the course of this season. They know when it's go time. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the trademark of this Denver Broncos team. And it's a championship quality that you want to have on a football team. It's like, maybe you're not playing your best football for the first 20, 30 minutes of the game. But when you got to get going, this Broncos team is able to do just that.
Yeah. And maybe, again, I've talked about how I'm from Minnesota and I follow the Vikings too. There's a lot of similarities between this team that I see and last year's team. And that scares me a little bit, because I've seen this before, teams, they're calling the Broncos frauds when they're obviously succeeding.
I think Bo Nix is better than Sam Darnold and JJ McCarthy, though. I would trust Bo Nix more in a playoff game. Like, that's the thing with Bo, is like, what more do you want to see from the guy? I understand maybe the stat line isn't always the prettiest with him, and I think we need to go ahead and get rid of this game manager label, because what you saw yesterday was Bo Nix slicing and dicing a really good Green Bay Packers defense. I mean, Michael Bandy with the first touchdown.
Yeah.
Cortland Sutton asserted himself as a true number one. Troy Franklin, that touchdown pass was unbelievable.
Unbelievable. One of the best ball placements I've ever seen.
Yeah, I mean, it's just what Bo Nix is doing is he's showing you he's a legitimate franchise quarterback, and I'm done with the naysayers that say otherwise.
Well, what I want to see is the term game manager stop being used as a bad word.
That's fair.
Game managers win games. You know,
he can do it all, though. If he needs to be a game manager, he can. If he needs to go back and sling it and put up points, he can. If he needs to shimmy outside of the pocket and run, he can. Bo Nix can do it all.
I think honestly, the ceiling for him is something of a Josh Allen. Like seeing the way that he plays right now. Did that not look like a Josh Allen type of game yesterday?
It did.
It did in a lot of ways. That looked like something that you see from Josh Allen. And that's me trying to comfort the Broncos fans that really wanted Josh Allen to come here when he got drafted, and it didn't happen.
Well, he should have come here, but that's beyond the point.
Exactly. But now we got Bo Nix, so don't even worry about it. Great game. Moving forward, they're going to play the Jaguars. You want to know something about that game?
Talk to me.
They're home again.
Don't tell me home underdogs.
No, not home underdogs. However, only 3-point favorites. You'd think that they were going to be more. Do you think that the Jaguars are going to put up a big fight, or do you think this is a game where the Broncos can steamroll them a little bit?
Well, I do have some questions about the Broncos defense over the course of a full game. Like, obviously, you know, the Raiders there at the end weren't very good against Washington despite getting the win there. And I know Nick Benito made the final play, but like they gave up 30 plus points in that game. And then, you know, yesterday after Christian Watson goes down, and I understand Christian Watson isn't like, you know, a Justin Jefferson type necessarily, but he's kind of the glue that holds this offense together. Like when Christian Watson is out there, he's able to stretch the field. And without that, you know, the Packers defense took a little bit of a step back, but I actually think the line's about right. Because of these questions we have about the Broncos defense, but also look at the recent points scored for this Jacksonville Jaguars offense. I mean, Liam Cohen has these guys absolutely rolling. 35 points against the Chargers, 27 points against the Cardinals, 25 points against the Titans, 36 points against the Colts, and then this past weekend, 48 points. Jacksonville hung 48 points on the New York Jets. And I understand the Jets are one of the worst teams in football, but point being, this Jaguars offense is absolutely humming right now. Trevor Lawrence is playing well. Travis Etienne is absolute dynamite. I wish Travis Hunter would be playing in this game. I don't think that will be the case. I think the line's about right for this game, if I'm being honest with you, because of how potent this Jaguars offense has been.
You know, and you mentioned the Jets game, and the Broncos only put up 13 up against the Jets. And I'm not going to compare it. And I'm not going to sit here and be like, hey, I'm just saying, you know, we're looking at a game where you're comparing chances against two of the same teams, or two teams going up against a similar opponent. One puts up 48, one puts up 13. You tell me what you think about that. You tell me. Now, obviously, we're all here rooting for the Broncos. A great win. I'm so excited to see what they do this weekend up against the Jaguars. I mean, we could be looking at the first season of a dynasty beginning. You know, dynasties begin in one season. You know, it's not last year. It's not last year when you get Bo Nix. It's the year that you win your first Super Bowl. And we could be looking at the year where the Broncos start the Bo Nix, Cortland Sutton, Pat Surtain, that era of Broncos football.
It's possible. Let's see it happen. I'm not trying to disagree with you, but it's like I think, you know, that word dynasty I think sometimes is thrown around a little bit loosely at times. The Chiefs dynasty just came to an end. That game against Christmas. By the way, if the Broncos beat the Jaguars and beat the Chiefs, the ultimate Christmas present is clinching the 1 seed on Christmas. So that would be absolutely phenomenal because that would be the case. Okay,
yeah, because the Patriots lost yesterday.
Yeah, so I mean, the Broncos won in a medley of different ways yesterday between the Patriots loss and, you know, taking care of business on their own against the Green Bay Packers. So I think it's the start of something special.
Yeah.
And I think what you saw last year was kind of the appetizer, right? Get your feet wet, dip the toe in the water when it comes to the playoffs and get battle tested, get calloused a little bit. And we're seeing this Denver Broncos team not just succeed, but shatter expectations, at least for myself and some fans and, you know, even analysts alike. I mean, Sean Payton, I thought he was kind of crazy when he was saying before the year, like, I've had a handful of teams in my life that can go win a Super Bowl. This is one. Talking about how Bo Nix is going to be a top quarterback in the league. I thought he was I thought it was one of those where it was just like, okay, you're going to say that about any team you're coaching. You know, like that kind of thing. Joey, he's right.
He's right.
He's 100% right.
He's right.
And so, Broncos country. Let's go, baby.
Let's ride. AP, thank you so much for joining. What a fun show. So happy to be back. It was a long weekend out in New York City. They didn't have as much fun as us Broncos fans got to have, you know, with a couple of wins here. But thank you guys all for joining. I will see you all tomorrow. Until then, y'all have a great rest of your day and make sure to check out the poll tonight. Bye, y'all.